welcome back to the Press Start Podcast. I'm your host Vic, aka MrNeverChillin, and this is episode number 37. And of course, I'm joined by my co-host Lunatic Ablivion.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
And this week we're joined by another special guest from the Chill Zone community and actually fellow Shoot to Win member Joe, aka Vanishh.
How's it going for everyone?
So yeah, Joe, if you want to go like introduce yourself, like who you are, what do you do for a living, your games you enjoy playing, fun fact, anything like that.
All right. Well, my name is Joe, aka Vanishh. 27 years old. I'm a manager for Infinitos. So yeah, salary position. So I'm kind of at mercy to wherever they need me. So that's kind of why I was running a little late today. I was out in Lancaster today running that store. Games I love to play. Right now I'm streaming and making content on YouTube for Smite. I don't know if you guys heard of that game. I really love MOBAs, so like League of Legends, Smite, games like that. And then if I'm not playing that, and I want to just relax, I know Lunatic is gonna make a face, but I'll play Skyrim on my PC because I got mods, so it makes it kind of fun. But other than that, yeah. Any other questions? Or
No.
That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. It's a little bit different as opposed to a lot of our other guests. They're big into just first person shooters. That's what they play 99% of the time. So it's pretty cool to get somebody in here different that plays like MOBAs and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I started playing Warcraft 3, and then that transitioned into Dota. And then right when I learned Dota, League of Legends came out back when I was like a freshman in high school, and I never looked back. I think, oh man, if I had the hours I put in the league into other things, I probably would be rich right now. So
Yeah, League of Legends was a big time sink for me as well. I played a lot during college, actually. I picked it back up, have a lot of friends that played. It's one of those games that you hate yourself for playing, but you love to play it.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
The community makes Xbox Live parties feel friendly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's especially in ranked when you get to like plat elo where I'm at, plat gold elo. If someone messes up in like the first 5 seconds, it's GG, surrender, surrender,
Yeah,
15,
no,
GG.
yeah, it's like
so
wow.
toxic. It's so toxic.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree.
Yeah. So what's going on,
But
Roger?
So for me, nothing new's really happening. I started a new game on PlayStation. I started Ni no Kuni, which is like it plays similar to Pokemon in the sense that you're going around collecting monsters and stuff, but it's a JRPG that's made by Studio Ghibli.
Hmm.
Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, things like that. Their art as a video game. I ended up picking up Ni no Kuni. It's a remastered of like one of the games in the middle of the series, so that was pretty cool. We've been playing Valorant. We got a second night in today, and then, as you know, we've been playing, and the community knows, we've been playing Dying Light today. We started that, and without further ado, let's talk about that co-op stream. I want to thank everyone who came out today and joined us for the co-op stream. But Vic, what's your thoughts on Dying Light 2?
So far, it's definitely very like a mixed thought because it looks good, but then it looks bad in some instances. But maybe it's because I'm playing on my PC that could be a little bit dated with my graphics card. So I bet it probably looks phenomenal on my Series X right now. But
Hmm.
it felt clunky playing through the first 2 hours because if nobody realized you have to play the first 2 hours of the game before you can even play co-op, and that's the whole purpose of our stream is to play co-op, and we weren't able to do that for the first 2 hours. We're like, man, what the
Ooh.
fuck? So it
Yeah.
was a bit clunky. Like the controls seem weird, and it's just like they're heavily focused on this parkour stuff, which it's different. It's not like your typical zombies like kind of game. It has its own like feature to it, so it's pretty cool. I think it's going to get better as it goes because you get more parkour abilities. You'll be able to slide and apparently wall run, and you start to get a lot more stuff to be able to traverse the world because it's all about traversing, running away from the zombies as opposed to killing them. But what's your thoughts so far, Roger?
I'm kind of with you on the same boat. I thought it was a little clunky that I had to wait 2 hours to be able to play the game co-op. And the idea is the game essentially is just dropping you into a Ubisoft style world where it's like, well, you finished the 2 hours, cool. There's the cool story driven content, and now it's just like go forth, do whatever the hell you want. And I think it's interesting. Like we had a quest today where all we had to do was sit there and listen to this guy's story, and he's just like, I'm not here for revenge. I'm just thanks for listening to my story. Here's an item, and you're like, Okay,
Yeah,
and that was a
weird.
quest. That was a quest. I was like, I was like expecting to be like, murder those guys that killed my
Right.
fish, and I'm like, okay. He's just like, thanks for listening. Have a good one. You're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm also a little iffy on how it works now because it's vastly different from the first game.
Hmm.
The first game was very combat driven, getting in there, smash at faces, and this one's like run on the roofs, don't fuck with anything. And you're also constantly turning into a zombie, which I think is an interesting mechanic
Hmm.
because it really puts that pressure of parkour and being quick about doing things, because if you're not, you're dead.
Right. Yeah, I definitely love that new aspect of it because like you get like a little timer, and it tells you, and you're about to do this mission or go into this building. You're like, man, am I gonna have enough time to clear this shit? Am I gonna have enough time to get to the end or search the entire thing without having to get back out and go find some UV lights?
Yeah, and then there's things that are like, well, we're going to accelerate your timer by a third. We're just removing a third of your timer and it's gone.
Yeah, and so I'm very curious to see how that game starts to play out because I know like you can eventually develop like you can build your own UV personal things, which probably
Yeah.
only lasts for like an X amount of time, but it's just going to be like, okay, cool, I'm in here for a little bit, I need some more time, throw this light down, good, and then I keep going. So I'm very curious to see how this game evolves. From what I heard in the industry, people who have actually played through this game a lot further, they said it takes about 10-12 hours before this game really feels like it's hitting its stride, and
Okay.
you're going to lose a lot of people in 10-12 hours
Oh
before a
yeah,
game becomes good. So
yeah.
And
me and you were in for it the long run. Like we bought the game, we're gonna play through it, we're gonna beat it. So like I feel bad for
yeah.
those who are like, never mind, refund real quick, and then they're gonna miss out on
Mhm.
probably a great game by the time it's all said and done.
And honestly, it kind of feels like Skyrim to me so far, where like, plain vanilla Skyrim is all about just we're gonna throw content at you. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter if it's copy pasted, it's just
Yeah.
we're gonna keep throwing events, things at you. We just want hours of play so that you feel like you paid for a good game. And I think that's kind of where we may be with this game if it doesn't pick up. Because they're like, oh, the game's got over 200 hours of gameplay. And I'm like, no thanks. I want good gameplay, not
Right.
lots of gameplay. So I'm definitely worried, but maybe it'll get a lot better and I'll be a lot more approachable with it. So
What about you,
I think
Joe?
without,
Joe, did you play
go ahead.
Dying Light 1 at all?
I actually did not, but from what it sounds like to me, it sounds like the majority of the time you're gonna spend is on side quests, like or doing side activities or like getting that special weapon or the special armors, Easter eggs, stuff like that. It sounds like most of the main storyline is like copy paste, like Lunatic said.
And not only that, they took some of the worst parts that people hated from games like Breath of the Wild, where you don't get to keep your weapons. Once you get a weapon, it breaks. There's only one weapon in Breath of the Wild that stays permanent. And this game's like, well, once a weapon breaks, it's gone. I'm like, that sucks. So I get three good weapons right now, and I have to find another one before they all break.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be interesting with that mechanic. And I know the only way to quote unquote heal them right now is if you add mods to them. So whenever you add a mod, it adds like 30% of its health back to the weapon. So I'm just like, okay, so you get it a little bit longer. So I'm just curious to see how long that lasts before they add a change where you can go back to repairing them. Because the first game you could just repair them. You would salvage old weapons, repair your other ones. Because there were
Yeah,
some pretty cool ones that you could find in the first game. Like there was one that was like that sword in the rock, like the classic um,
yeah.
King Arthur. Like
King Arthur.
yeah, so
Hmm.
it was pretty cool. Once you got that, I think it was like the Excalibur or something like that, and you got that out, and that sword was a badass. That shit you would never want to lose that thing. That shit was shredding, and I'm glad it
Yeah.
never breaks.
And And that's the other thing. This game is definitely like The Division, where everything's a bullet sponge. Well, in this case, there are no bullets. Everything's a sword sponge. Like it feels like you're just hacking out a wall, like it's The Shining. I don't want to sit there and keep trying to break open this guy's skull. It took me 4 hits, and there's 6 other zombies coming at me.
Right. So yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Would you would you say it's like hack and slash like Devil May Cry, or is
Um,
it more? Because Devil May Cry, definitely you're pressing the same button like on
yeah,
repeat.
yeah, and that's kind of what it feels like. I'm just sitting there.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
swung
yeah,
at the
yeah.
same guy for like
Hmm.
four, 5, 6 times it takes for him to finally die, and I'm like, this is a fucking machete. Why is it taking so
Yeah.
much?
Right. And
Right.
there's no way to like I can aim for the head and cut its neck off or anything. It's just whatever it hits, and it does the same damage no matter where you hit. So I'm just like, It's kind of weird. Like I wish like if it was at a sense where if I had to keep hitting them, that means I'm just hitting them in the shoulder or their arms. Like obviously I'm not going to kill anybody if I'm hitting them there, but if I swing and chop your neck off, you're dying.
Why is it not taking it as, critical damage?
Right.
Right.
And like I'm over here, like I got throwing knives, and I'm like, all right, let's see if they're any use. You throw a throwing knife, and it takes 1/10 of their health, and you're like, why would I make 10 throwing knives to kill one guy?
That you can't go and retrieve.
That too.
Right.
So I'm definitely eager to see where this game goes. But yeah, Joe, definitely check out the first one. The first one was actually an enjoyable game. So
It was a very good game.
Definitely.
but yeah,
All right, without further ado, we've got some game releases this week, quite a few, and it's actually a big week for the Switch. So this week we've got Ollie Ollie World coming out on February 8th, as well as Sifu. We've got Action Arcade Wrestling and Backbone coming out on the 9th, and then Crossfire X as well as Edge of Eternity and Kingdom and Cardboard Kings come out on the 10th. And without further ado, Kingdom Hearts comes out on the Switch. The entire collection, that is both remasters, 1.5, 2.5, as well as 2.8, the prologue, and 3. And then we finish out the week with No by Heart and Lost Ark. Lost Ark is a new MMO that's coming out, and honestly, we'll see what happens. But I know you want to talk about this. Kingdom Hearts. Are you excited to see this on the Switch? Is this something you'd pick up, or are you beat the series, you're done with the series?
I definitely beat the series nonstop. I went above and beyond and collected all the Keyblades, so it was a fun playthrough. I like the idea of it being on the Switch. Just that portability and the ability to just kick back, lay in a recliner, pull out your Switch, and there goes 3 hours. So
yeah, and not only that, some of the side games were actually made as mobile games. So it kind of feels nice that they're actually back on a mobile console, because I bought this for the PS4, the remake, and I was sitting there playing, mobile style games on the PS4, and it just felt weird. It's like playing Disgaea on a console, and as opposed to like something in your hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm eager to see though Kingdom Hearts come into the Switch. That's pretty big, especially because the Switch is a family-oriented, kid-oriented console, and Kingdom Hearts, it's Disney. Come on, let's be the chase. So it just makes sense. I've never understood why it took this long to come there, because I feel like this game could have came to the Switch a lot sooner. But it's pretty cool to see the entire collection, all of them come on February 10th. But two other games that are actually doing really well so far that have came out, or they haven't came out yet, but they're reviewing really well, is Ollie Ollie World and Sifu. Both indie developed games, and they're both getting like 8s and 9s from most media outlets. So I was just like, oh wow, like I really wasn't expecting these higher ratings on these games, because they didn't really seem that great from the videos and the gameplay trailers that we've seen. And I was just like, for them to be reviewing that well, I'm like, okay, I might have to check it out.
Maybe there's something there.
Yeah.
Honestly, one that interests me is Cardboard Kings, because it looks like it's a sim game where you're essentially running your own business as essentially like a trading card empire, just a store. You're running your own trading card store, and I was like, that seems interesting. A unique concept on a genre that's existed for such a long time.
Right. Are any of these games standing out to you, Joe?
Ollie Ollie World, I think that's what it is, or Ollie Ollie. Definitely that stood out to me. It seems like a 2D platformer, skateboard type thing. It seems addicting because it's like one of those games where it's like so simple, kind of like Temple Run, where it's like really simple and you just find yourself playing and playing and playing and playing, and your fingers hurt and your hands hurt from just, going crazy. So I can see how it gets a good score for critics for replayability and the ability to keep you in the game. Because that's what a lot of games lack, the games, they focus on cinematics, they focus on graphics, but they lack that fundamental ability to grab you into the game. You know what I mean? And sometimes it's the most simplest games.
Right.
So
yeah, I agree. And I think some of the big issues we deal with lately is, replayability isn't something that's there. They're like, oh, we want you to replay it. But like the content itself is all about getting you through this, like, we're making all these secrets. We don't want you to know what's going on. We want you to be excited. And then it's like, well, now I know all the climactic events. Nothing feels good to continue playing over and over again. And then they're like, here, we've released a DLC. It's in the middle of the game. It'll feel really shitty to go back to it now that you beat the game. So do I start the game over? And it's like, well, there feels no replayability with a lot of these AAA games anymore.
Right, and I talk about that a lot in my game reviews that I put out. Where when I get to my replay value section of my reviews, it's just like, yeah, you can go and finish the side quests, or you can go and collect the weapons or the in-game collectibles. But I'm just like, that's not replay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to go back to a game and have to go through and just pick up little tedious stuff. Like, I need meaningful content. Once I'm done with the game, go back and do it. Why am I going back to do it? So, but there is one other game that I wanted to mention here on the list. Is Crossfire X, one that we've been following for a while. This one's coming to the Xbox exclusive on the 10th. It's that first-person shooter being made by Remedy Games, based off of the multiplayer game, and I'm really excited for it. I'm just hoping it does well, but we're not really getting too good of reviews as of yet. So I'm definitely eager to check it out because it's coming to Game Pass. Why not?
Yeah. No, I'm with you. People have talked highly about the multiplayer for Crossfire X and how the gameplay works and stuff. So for them to come back and be like, all right, we're gonna make a single player game for this, the single player story, I'm interested because there isn't really much an established like story that they have to stick to, so they can just pretty much write whatever they want, and I'm kind of excited to see what they write.
Right, and especially because they snagged a great single player story driven developer with Remedy, with Control
Yeah.
and Alan Wake, like Quantum Break as well. So it's a perfect match, and it's interesting though to see that they're taking on this kind of game, like a first person, like Call of Duty esque kind of game.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So I think moving on here to industry news, let's talk about some indie studios here. So Hazelight Studios, we know they won Game of the Year last year for It Takes Two. They've now teamed up with DJ2 Entertainment to create a TV series as well as a movie based on the game. And they also, turns out, last year sold 5 million copies of the game, even though it's on free-to-play studios like Game Pass and other things like that. They've sold 5 million copies as well as the money they got from putting it on like Game Pass.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how big and how important this game really is. Like it's obvious why it won Game of the Year, and now even other companies are like, ooh, that was a great concept, great story. It won Game of the Year. It's going to have that attention. Let's make a movie. Let's make a TV, and that's becoming the whole like the whole shift in the entertainment business is, okay, how can I be here, here, and here? Well, let's make a game. Let's make a movie. Let's make a TV show. Let's make a comic book. Let's make it all like work together, and it just makes sense. It's to be able to tell storytelling in multiple types of media, and it's pretty cool because not everyone likes playing games, but some people like watching TV shows and reading books. You know what I mean? So that's pretty cool. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, so like it seems interesting. Really the whole thing from making a game into a show or movie, I feel like Arcane really nailed it. I don't know if you guys seen Arcane. It's like League of Legends. They made it into a Netflix series. So like this interests me. It could come out good. But we also have the Halo 2 that apparently they're trying to make a movie or live action something too.
Yeah.
So hopefully that doesn't overshadow. They can figure out a good release date.
Right.
You know what I mean when it comes to that, but that definitely is interesting. I would keep my eye on that for sure.
Right. Well, good thing is the Halo TV series comes out this March. It Takes Two TV or movie is probably not going to be out anytime soon. Probably at least another
No,
year.
Yeah.
but there you go. There you
So-
go. There you go.
What's really awesome is I think it's cool because it goes to show that people, when they want these games lately, we don't want just like, it is the meshing of both content, soundtrack, gameplay, the story matters. And that's what I think really important here, because I think they won Game of the Year because it's not only the fact that they took their previous two games, the idea that it's a two-player game, that each person has a role to play. So like if I'm player one, my controls are completely different from player two. Not to mention the story actually heavily relies on the two of us working through it together.
Mhm.
Like the game encourages us to fight each other at times or to have that healthy competition, but at the end of the day, we're not going to be able to beat the game unless I help you. And then to take and watch these characters develop, we see real character development, something that, it's what makes a good book or a good movie a good movie. You want to see people become better. You want to see the Tin Man find his heart. You want the Cowardly Lion wants to find his bravery. You want those things. And I think Take-Two did really well. And now I think they're not going to have trouble adapting this into a movie because of how much they care about the story. And I think that's the thing where we can start to blur the line between gameplay and cinematic, because I think everyone lately right now is like, well, I want to make a cinematically beautiful game, but then there's no gameplay. So why didn't you just make a movie?
Yeah, I agree. And also the actors. I don't know, have they announced the actors at all, or is this just they're gonna need some good actors to draw you into that movie. So
no, I agree.
It's interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah, and I'm interested to see how this goes. Like, is this going to be like a live action concept of this, or is this going to be like an animated show or animated movie, or like
or both,
or both,
or
like,
are they going to blend the media?
Right, where like when they are like real people before they get shrunken down into those characters, are they going to be like live action and then they turn into like real life dolls or something, or animated dolls?
Right.
It'd be interesting to see. That'll be something that we follow for sure. But it's just pretty cool to see that this is an indie studio. And now look, it's getting so much attention in media that, hey, we want to grow it and make it a big time thing.
And I think it just goes to show that the labor of love will win you more than just pumping out the same Call of Duty game year after year.
Year after year after year.
Talking about Call of Duty, Activision Blizzard. So this week, Activision's vice president posted some anti-union rhetoric. Microsoft and Activision are in their talks for the purchase, so the Federal Trade Commission is involved. And not only that, we go to show just how much in-game transactions are worth. Could you believe that World of Warcraft made $5.19 billion? Sorry, not just World of Warcraft, but Activision Blizzard made $5.19 billion from in-game transactions only.
Mm-hmm. I believe it.
So, really, does this tell you anything about the industry where...
It just
well,
sucks.
microtransactions definitely play a big part into the game's economy. Like, for example, World of Warcraft, I used to play that. You can either grind out 30,000 gold in game, or you could just buy game time straight up. Oh, what about this mount? Do I want to do this quest and do this raid for like 7 hours for the chance of this drop for 2%? Or do I just want to buy it straight up? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they also have Call of Duty. I want the newest skin. That skin looks cool. I'm gonna buy it. It's Fortnite. I feel like Fortnite really paved the road for these microtransactions.
They took it to the
and
next
every
level.
game is now every game is hopping on, because that's a lot of money they make, but it's also a lot of labor for the employees in the studio.
And I think it kind of really influences the industry, as we talked about last week on our show. Watch Dogs. They were a single player game with a microtransaction shop.
Before they added
the game launched without multiplayer because they had to delay multiplayer because of technical difficulties, but they still made sure that microtransaction shop worked. That was in a single player game for months.
Yeah, it definitely blows my mind. But to circle back here to your first part about the vice president posting anti-union messages, and I quote, this is what he said: "A union doesn't do anything to help us produce world-class games." Basically saying they don't really give a fuck about their employees, as most companies
exactly
say it. But he's just putting it out there. We don't give a fuck about you. We just need you to make a good game.
Yeah,
that's all they're saying.
That's where I was getting at the point with a lot of labor and stress on the employees, because the microtransactions, I'm sure they have a team that's in charge of that, and that's a 24/7 thing, so like I'm sure there's overtime and overworked, and unions protect against that. So for him to say, screw unions, that's kind of like slapping 90% of your employees in the face that
Right.
do overtime for you, you know? So
Right.
I'm curious to see how that goes because Activision and Blizzard have had some controversy a lot lately.
Right.
So
These comments were in part to because Raven Software has announced that they created a union, they voted to make it a thing, and then Activision Blizzard they voluntarily will not accept it. They won't even recognize it. So then the vice president comes out and like, hey, not only do we not recognize it, but we don't see it as a benefit. It's not going to help us produce world class games. So they really
Yeah,
are not. They're not
yeah.
taking this situation serious. Like, do they not see the world saying Activision, you guys are terrible? Like they're publicly throwing people's name like they weren't even invited to the Game Awards because of how bad they're doing. Like
Yep.
Mhm.
like the industry is trying to single them out, saying y'all suck, y'all need change, and y'all need to do better. And hopefully, with Microsoft stepping in with the transaction, which should go through without any issues, we'll hopefully clean house. That's our plan. Or
Yeah.
that's
Hopefully.
their plan at least.
Yeah. Well, for sure, for sure. You know, Microsoft definitely has structure in place, and they have a brand name to maintain up to.
Right.
So I don't see them tolerating, doing business with someone and tolerating them to throw dirt on their brand and their name. So
Right.
I definitely could see some changes coming if it does go through. But yeah, that wasn't really too bright of a comment for not vice president, if I do say.
That's an understatement for sure. Yeah, I hope.
Yeah.
Because Phil Spencer,
Honestly,
Phil Spencer's the head of Microsoft Gaming now, or has been since the later days of Xbox One, and ever since he took over, he's turned that whole company around. Like Xbox almost folded, like completely went under until he took over, made some changes, made the adjustments, made the proper acquisitions and everything. So everything's been trending up ever since he took over.
yeah, agreed. And talking here about the industry a little bit more, the world of streaming. So Google is now trying to, it seems, compete with Amazon. YouTube Gaming is now officially rolling out a subscription model for people who watch their content creators live streaming on YouTube now. So is this something that you think is interesting to hear about?
I would say.
uh,
Go ahead, Joe. You can
Go ahead,
go
Vic. Well, being sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, man.
No, you're good.
So YouTube gaming, definitely that's something I feel like that lacked the idea. The whole when Dr. Disrespect had that drama with Twitch and then he went to YouTube. It was kind of like, all right, cool, you get the revenue and the ad revenue maybe and the view count on your videos, but what is it that's keeping you there? Like Twitch, you get the subs, and now YouTube, they're getting the subs. So I can see a lot of Twitch streamers transitioning, branching out, kind of how like Ninja did with Mitzer, and then you had Shroud with Mitzer. I could see something like that happening with YouTube. Get a big name on YouTube, make them your face, and then it will explode. I mean, because everyone's on YouTube already, right? So like if you have it all in one app, I mean,
Yeah.
it can take off. In
Because
my opinion.
everyone, you're going to post, nobody really cares to go to your Twitch channel for your videos. People want to see your YouTube clips. People go to YouTube. They want to sit there and watch the videos, just go through their new content creators all the time. I'm guilty of it. I know everyone is. And I think this is a big move because now if they can get their live stream off the ground, this gives them a better chance with this subscription model to pull those streamers that we already know are out there streaming to YouTube. Now it gives them a chance. It's like, hey, come over to us. Now you can also get subs like you do on Twitch.
Yeah.
So I think this is that guaranteed revenue that people are looking for to bring the content creators off of Twitch and also cause Twitch to really decide, is it worth it? Maybe Twitch might have to think about reworking their business model because if people start jumping ship for YouTube because YouTube's going to offer more money.
Oh, yeah. And they have the money.
Yeah, and
They definitely have the money.
I think this kind of move is important for the industry too. It's going to help push creativity and innovation. Like, it's going to just help the platform because obviously we stream to Twitch every day, but what goes to say that we don't just switch to YouTube because maybe YouTube offers us a better incentive on switching to them as opposed to
Yeah.
Twitch? What if YouTube just drastically makes becoming a streamer, like the entry level stuff, easier to achieve than Twitch does? Like, you just never know like how this all can play out. This impact could have greater effects in the end.
Agreed.
And it causes competition, which is what capitalism is built
Yeah.
off of. Because right now we're in a monopoly of streaming. People
Yeah.
really don't want to stream on other platforms. A lot of people who don't stream on Twitch usually do it for, I'm against, I don't want to be mainstream, or I want to be different. I want to reach people differently. I think this gives them a chance to say, well, you don't always have to stream on Twitch, because we've watched these other platforms rise up, try to challenge Twitch, and Twitch is just like, yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
It's not competition. It's just, it's everyone trying to take on the king, and we're not going to see them ever be able to dethrone them. And I think this is the first step to creating that healthy competition that's good for the gamer and not for the company.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I would love to see some more platforms come into the ring too. Like, I'm surprised like Amazon, or I can't say Amazon, Amazon has Switch, but like other big companies don't have like a streaming platform. Like, there's literally three main ones: YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook are the three main gaming platforms that people use. Other than that, there isn't anything. I mean, we had Mixer there for a while with Microsoft. That went under. It was bought out by Facebook Gaming, and Facebook isn't really taking off. It's really just Twitch and YouTube primarily. So I'm eager to see if this causes like any entryways. Like, can people get into the market and provide a different outlet?
Yeah, I'm
no,
gonna
I
be
definitely
looking
agree.
into that for sure.
But
Because if we're gonna make more money off YouTube, why wouldn't you stream to YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Why wouldn't? And a lot of these platforms nowadays, like these streaming platforms that you can go through to then get to your actual content, you can multi-stream now. Stream to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch all in one. And when one starts taking off, why don't you just dump the other two? Then you don't have to worry about it.
right, there are contracts whenever you become an affiliate or whatever. The
Yes.
different programs they limit to where you can't stream to other platform. It has to become exclusive content, which is
Well, yes.
interesting.
But then again, who's to say they don't just break the contract or get another contract written up and take the fucking L on it, and then get paid for somebody else?
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah, like,
yeah.
so
It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
exactly. So let's move on here to gaming news, the heart of our show. Let's start off with PlayStation and another big acquisition coming out this week. PlayStation has announced that they're buying Bungie. Is this something that we've talked about what PlayStation and Sony needs to survive in the industry right now with the wave of Microsoft washing over them? Is this what Sony needs right now? Is this going to help them?
No, and Joe, you had the perfect reaction, the whole head scratching. Like, when that news broke, I was just like, what? It like
Yeah.
the thing is, it didn't make any sense from Sony's point of view, but it really didn't make any sense from Bungie. Bungie left Microsoft
Yeah.
in search of independence. They became independent, but then signed a contract with Activision nonetheless. And then they were like, no, well, we want to publish our games independently too. Not even 2 years later, they are now owned by Sony.
And honestly,
What happened to the whole independency? Like, why
well,
go through all that? Why go through all those publicities saying we want independence, we want to do this? And granted, yeah, with their whole new with Sony, they're supposed to still operate independently, but you're still owned by them. They ultimately have the ultimate say in the end.
yeah, and I think what's crazy about this whole thing is it's just Bungie went off on their own to make their own project. The project flopped. Then they tried to make Project 2 after they rebuilt the first game. And then that one didn't take off. We have a little bit of a little bit of go, and then it never really hooks. The player base comes and comes and goes. They had to make the game free so people would actually play it. Honestly, to me, this feels like a mistake. They're buying a studio that at this point doesn't know who they are. They don't have an identity. They gave up Halo, and now they have nothing. They have this game, and I keep seeing memes about it, which is hilarious. People are like, Sony made a huge mistake. They bought Bungie for $3.6 billion. I just got the game for free.
Yeah. Like that's the biggest concern, is that I think they overpaid for Bungie. $3.6 billion for one IP. They own Destiny, and that is it. And that's also the confusion that's been going on in the industry, or people on Twitter. They're like, oh, so maybe we'll see Halo on PlayStation. Like, no, cut that shit out.
No.
Because they sold Halo.
Bungie,
They sold Halo to Microsoft and 343 Industries. That's out the books. So they only have Destiny 1 and 2 and whatever else. Apparently they have a new IP in the works. Whoop-de-doo. Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 were mediocre games at best.
Oh yeah.
And so I'm really in like Sony's ideas. Oh, we want to help build their franchises into other medias. They want to make TV shows and movies with them. Like, okay,
That
I guess it makes
that is
sense.
an interesting point. I wanna build upon that, and I think that's the interesting thing that we didn't talk about is they want to make other media. And I think that's huge because that's where the industry is going at this point.
Hmm.
The more we watch the industry, the more we're gonna see the metaverse of video games,
Yeah.
movies, TV shows, board games, books. It's the idea of building that fan base that will never leave. And I think Destiny actually has potential there
Hmm.
Oh yeah.
because they have the potential for really good cinematic works because everyone loves a good sci-fi. I
Hmm.
don't care who you are, everyone loves a good
Oh yeah.
sci-fi. And there are so many types. So I think this is an interesting choice because now that they'll own the rights to make these into movies. I think they have a good flow.
Hmm.
It's the industry's pointing in the right direction for them.
Right, and I mean, we can't honestly knock the Sony like movie business because look at all the Spider
Oh
Mans.
yeah.
Spider Man
Yeah.
is doing phenomenal.
Hmm.
Like a lot of their movies are really successful. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that this could be ultimately very successful. And like you said, Destiny could be a great movie or TV show if done right. Because if people don't follow Destiny enough, there's endless amounts of lore with Destiny built into the game. All the little shit that you can collect and find and do. Like Destiny is one
Hmm.
of the most heavy rich lore games out there like as of recently other than like games that have been around for 20 years, but this game's new. This game has a lot of lore, but think about it, when they had Halo, there was tons of lore with Halo back in the day
Oh
even then. So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, makes sense. And then look what happened to Halo made books and comics and all that
yeah.
other side materials, and yes, they had their TV shows that kind of at the time, but they branched out. So it'd be pretty cool
Yeah.
to see how this definitely goes. But 3.6 billion, that's a
No.
little bit much. And what's funny is when Microsoft bought them, it was like 20 or 40 million dollars back in the day. So I mean, given inflation, that's still not anywhere close to what they're even worth.
And and like to give you an idea how much this is, last year Sony made $81 billion. So to them, from us, people who don't have money, people who aren't big content creators making millions of dollars,
Right.
81 billion dollars, you're looking at 3.6 billion for a purchase.
That's just a drop
This
in
is
their bucket,
drops in a bucket.
right?
It's really just a drop in a bucket. And if it doesn't pan out, you've lost less than 5% of your 1 year's revenue.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just apparently these talks have been in the works for a long time, and this wasn't in retaliation to what Microsoft's been doing, and but it just goes to show that stacked up against what Microsoft has been doing, this is nothing. This is very underwhelming because even the Bethesda deal was more important and more valuable than buying Bungie. Like, but when they bought Bungie, what was that, like 7.8 or whatever? It wasn't even that much, and they got how many different IPs when they bought Bethesda? Good IPs, and you just
Yeah.
bought you spent half the same amount of money for one mediocre IP. I don't know what's
I
going on over there.
I feel like and I'm saying this to be funny and to be truthful. I feel like they bought the shadow of Bungie
Hmm.
Yeah.
and they're trying to resurrect it and pull it from its shadow and put it back into its body.
Hmm.
But that's kind of hard to challenge one of the greatest video game series, in my opinion, ever made, which is Halo. And you're bringing someone that doesn't, like you said, lacks the identity and what they truly want to go in the direction of the game they want to go, and you're paying 3 point whatever billion for these guys. Like, I don't know. I'm sure they're gonna have a state of art studio. I don't know what's going on, but I will say the movie aspect, that sounds cool. I can
Yeah.
see Destiny being a live action or like a Netflix series.
Hmm.
Um, and I would watch that.
Yeah,
For sure.
I would, because
For sure.
I
For
enjoyed
sure.
the story of Destiny. Like, no, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Destiny was a fun game. It was just the end game content, grinding to get the gear to go to the raids, or all that extra shit after the game. Like, that's not
It was an
what I
MMO.
wanted. Yeah, I didn't
It
want
was
that.
literally an MMO that they didn't want you to play single player, but they didn't want to build in a way to find friends to play the game. So you had to go out of your way to find people to play with.
Hmm.
And by the time they built in a way for you to find people to do the end game content, your community's dead.
Yeah, you lost me, because I was just like, this is doing too much.
Yeah, I came back when they made it free to play, just to see what they changed, and then I was just like, well, now you kind of like lost my respect as a player, because I paid this money for this game and it flopped, in my opinion, and now you made it free to play to compete with the other free to play games.
You want to see how much money
yeah,
that
it
I've
was-
spent on this game? Destiny 1. Destiny 1 again with expansion pass. Destiny 1 the collection. Destiny 2.
Oh no.
And I also have this one, the collection one, Destiny 1, on the PS4 as well. That's how much
Yeah,
I was down to take Destiny serious, but the lack of being able to create a community and having friends to play
Yeah.
was where I couldn't play the game. Like, none of my friends wanted to play Destiny. Not being able to find people to play Destiny was a problem. I was like, fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played it on PlayStation for a while there because my friends wanted to play, and then they quit, and it was like, and then it felt like WoW to me as well. It felt like you were sitting there on these bosses, and you were in such a small group that even if one person fucked up, it's like, you know who's going to continue to keep fucking up. And the game itself, I think there's a lot of issues with. And so I think that causes the problem over and over and over again. You know, we're
Leroy
doing a raid.
Jenkins.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You've got it's a flop. So we'll see what happens. I think this is a terrible purchase, and I think you both agree as well that this,
yeah.
you know, we're buying what Bungie was, not what Bungie is.
Right, and apparently there are other acquisitions being made by PlayStation this year. That's already been said by Ryan over at PlayStation, the CEO in charge of all this. So he was like, be on the lookout for more purchases. we're in the heart of the acquisition season, because it's not over.
Yeah, so let's move on here to a few more things in the PlayStation world. So we had the State of the Play last week. It was on the 2nd. We saw only one or two real things that mattered. We saw Gran Turismo 7. It was really showcased. We didn't just get that teaser, but we actually got more content, as well as we saw Ghostwire Tokyo Showcase. That was on the 3rd, and we got a release date. We know that this game was actually meant to be Evil Within 3. So we probably won't see an Evil Within 3 at this point. We're going to see a new game, maybe another new game after this. You know, the Evil Within series has moved on to a new IP, if you will. So March 25th, Ghostwire Tokyo will drop on the PS5 and the computer. Are either of you excited for either of these games?
Go ahead, Joe, because I gotta
So
let
yeah, I'm sure you do. So Ghostwire seems interesting, the whole concept. I think I would look into it for sure. But the other game, I'm sorry, it slipped my mind. What was the other one?
Gran Turismo
Yeah,
7.
exactly.
Gran Turismo. Gran
What
Turismo.
game?
So it slipped because I got caught up with the Ghost, but Gran Turismo holds a special place in my heart because when I had my PlayStation 2, that was all I played besides Ratchet and Clank was Gran Turismo 2 and Gran Turismo 3.
And not Need for Speed Underground 1 and 2?
I didn't. I like Midnight Club. I was more
that
of a
one too.
Midnight Club guy. But I loved the real driving simulator. I loved Gran Turismo, and I haven't played it since 3. You know, we had Forza and but they just didn't connect to me. When I saw the cinematic for the Gran Turismo 7, it kind of made me feel like a kid again, and that's dangerous because I don't need another game to take my time. So. Hopefully it comes to PC. We'll see how that goes. But I'm excited for Gran Turismo for sure. I loved that game
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, so to give you my rundown of both of these games, start off with Gran Turismo 7. When they just showcased it the other day, they were like, "Oh, this is gonna be better than Forza Horizon 5." Well, none of what I saw looks anywhere close to Forza Horizon 5. Like graphically, it looks awful. Like
Hmm.
the shadows, the details. Like whenever you're racing, like even far out, really looks clean and crisp. Gran Turismo 7's far out looks blurry and just really outdated. So I'm just like, this isn't really what you can't compare them. And then they were like, "Oh, it's going to have ray tracing," and Forza Horizon 5 doesn't. They're like, "Well, it does, just not in the racing mode." And then here it comes to find out, Gran Turismo 7's following the same thing. It's not going to have ray tracing when you're racing. It'll be it in like the
Yeah.
car mode and when you're at that
Yeah.
when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
just sitting there. And so it's just like, okay, you're getting the same thing except my game looks better and it's free on Game Pass. You got to spend $60-$70 for Gran Turismo 7 for it to maybe do good.
Yeah.
Because Gran Turismo hasn't been good in recent years. It hasn't been good in a while, probably since the PS2 days. And so it's just
Yeah.
like,
I agree.
not really too excited for it. But hey, PlayStation has a racing game. Hopefully it's fun.
Honestly,
Hopefully it's good. But it's
honestly,
just
it's
like
one of those games.
right. It looks like Forza Motorsport. That's really what that game is. That's all it is. That's a
Yeah.
competitor to that.
And and what I want to say here is when you think of PlayStation and PlayStation exclusives, what do you think of? You think of Naughty Dog, you think of Ratchet and
Hmm.
Clank. Do you
Yep.
think of Gran Turismo anymore?
No, not
That's not
anymore.
why people buy your consoles. And then to say, well, we're going to put out Gran Turismo and this is going to be the Forza killer. Well, put some labor of love and maybe it would be, but it doesn't feel like it. It
Right.
just feels like another game. To me, it could be the same as playing Madden or MLB or 2K. It's the same game. It's
Never gets
copy, it's
better.
paste. Let's go. Never, you never fix the game. It feels like, there's outside competition, but you're like, we're already the best. And it's like, no, you're not.
It's been a
So
long
I
time.
think that's our issue. We're seeing their other games adapt, become better, adapt, improvise, overcome. But this, I don't I didn't s- it didn't feel good to me. I would rather play other games.
Hmm.
So
And
like, good.
I was just going to circle back to Ghostwire Tokyo real quick to give you my
Yeah.
thoughts on that. Is I'm waiting until it comes out on Xbox just because it's coming to Game Pass next year. I'm not so it'll come out March of 2023. No big deal. But
Ugh.
but it just sucks that like oh yeah I do got to miss that first initial hype to be able to get it for free. But it is pretty cool to see that this was originally supposed to be Evil Within 3, but it had so many different ideas and characteristics and mechanics in the game. They were like, how about we just make this a new game, y'all? So I'm like, oh damn, what happened to Evil Within 3? Because Evil Within 3 or 1 and 2 were both very successful horror games, and I wouldn't be surprised if they circle back, have a second team working on this. I mean, they're owned by Microsoft now; they can branch out and work with other teams. Like that's not going to be an issue. So I'm sure Evil Within 3 is definitely still in the works. Just had to go back to the drawing board for sure. But overall,
Honestly,
Ghostwire Tokyo looks good. It looks
It does.
phenomenal. Ever since it was announced, I was like, ooh, this game looks cool.
I'm not a fan of the Evil Within series, but I want to play this. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna play it either on the PlayStation 5 and cry myself to sleep at night, or I'm gonna play it on PC and I'm gonna stream it for the community, and they're gonna laugh at me because I hate horror games, but I still play them. And this game to me, it tickles my inner weeb because it's all about Japanese horror. So like, you've got things that these are things like Japanese horror stories. They make my skin crawl thinking about them sometime. Like, you've got women, no-faced women running around skinning your face off in the night. So if you hear a voice behind you, don't turn around and you're safe. And it's like, ooh, I don't
What am
know if I
gonna
like that. Like, it's not like a mass murder where they're just gonna, it's not like, our horror where it's like, it's gonna get you whether you don't see it or not. This one's like, you can't turn around and it's that impending dread behind you. And it's like, you can stay alive, but it's that horror that will scar you forever. And I think some of these creatures are gonna be really cool.
Mhm.
I like the atmosphere around it. It's got that sort of, it's that cyberpunk dark gritty futurescape city style feeling but with classical Japanese horror, and I'm excited for it. I'm gonna play this.
You got a PS5, so
I
why not?
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
right, right. I
Yeah, that shit.
I haven't played a good horror game in my opinion since the Silent Hill series. So I'm hoping that this is one of those where I'm sleeping with the lights on at night. Silent Hill definitely did it for me. So I'm excited to see how it goes. It looks beautiful. It looks great.
And
And with my rig, it probably would look great in person, on a 4K monitor and everything. But yeah, you just got to see how it goes. I'm with Vic. I'm waiting till it hits Game Pass. I don't think it's good enough for me to shell out the money. But maybe I'll see a trailer or some gameplay, and I'm like, you know what? I'm
great.
gonna have to go get it. So
Right, and the thing is, we were
we'll see.
talking
We'll
about
see.
it in our Shoot to Win group chat the other day, and they were like, "Yo, this game looks dope. I can't wait to play it." Yuri popped in the chat for like every once in a while, and he was just like, "Yo, I can't wait to play it," because he's big into like Japanese anything anime, Japanese,
Yeah.
Chinese stuff like that. So like, he's really big into that. So he's really excited. I was like, I'm excited for this game, but like with the whole idea of having Game Pass changing the scene of gaming, I can't like the first I bought Dying Light 2
It's hard
today.
to buy a game.
Yeah, the Dying
Yeah.
Light 2.
Exactly.
Why,
Yeah.
why buy a game when I'm going to get it for free? There's no point.
Exactly.
Like I literally
Yeah.
bought Dying Light 2 today and was probably the first game I bought. I mean, obviously I bought Brilliant Diamond for the Switch, but it's just like I don't buy games anymore. I play most of my shit on Xbox, and 90% of the games I'm going to play are on Game Pass.
Exactly. I'll just find random games on Game Pass and I'll download. I don't even play them half the time. And I would
Yeah.
have bought them in my old life. I would have bought those games, let them sit in my Steam library, never touched them, and then be like, when did I buy this?
Mm-hmm.
I do that with Game Pass now, and it curbs that addiction. And when you then look at those games, buying a $60 game plus tax, it's like, dude, that's half a year of Game Pass.
Right.
Why did
Yeah.
I do this for one game?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You definitely get your money's worth. Like you literally play like what? Like I think they said like 3 or 4 games, and you already paid your year's worth.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and like the crazy part about this is, I started the game and I'm like, this isn't worth my $60.
Delete, and it didn't cost you or do anything.
Yeah, but like with Dying Light 2, I put $60 into it, and I'm like,
Now you feel obligated to play it.
yeah, and I'm gonna play through it, and I'm gonna be hyper. I'm gonna critique you harder because now I've paid for this game.
Yep.
Whereas like Game Pass, I feel like I'm a lot more lenient on these games because I was like, this shit's free. So yeah, for a free game, 7 out of 10.
Right.
Agreed.
And one last thing here in regards to PlayStation though is the PS5 has officially outsold the Wii U's lifetime numbers already, in 1 year. PS5 is up to 17.3 million units versus the Wii U total's lifespan is 13.56 million. So that's pretty impressive to see that PlayStation 5 has already sold 17 million consoles already. That's phenomenal. I'm eager to see what the number is for
Good for them.
Xbox. I know Xbox is a little bit behind just because of the production. Like the production like isn't there. Like they're not able to make enough Xboxes. Phil already came out and said, "Hey, we already beat Xbox One and 360 numbers, but we can't produce it enough because the supply is not there. The demand is through the roof, and that's the problem."
Mm-hmm.
But speaking about Nintendo, another console that broke some records is Switch has officially outsold the Wii, becoming Nintendo's best-selling console of all time, and that doesn't include handheld because we know the Game Boy and the DS that's their best-selling. But
Yeah.
the Switch has sold 103.54 million units, versus the Wii had
Wow.
101.6 million. So that's pretty incredible because they figure the Switch has only been out what, I think it's 5 years,
Couple years.
5 years now. So I mean, that's a pretty impressive number there.
For
And
5 years, that's 20 million a year, and that's outselling the PS5 and the Xbox per
Right.
year if we're
Right.
looking at that way. So I want to say this is actually really fascinating to me because we know the Wii U was actually a flop. The console, it just didn't hit its mark with the Wii being what it was, and people were like, well, when you tried to innovate, people weren't ready for the change that
Mhm.
came. Like I thought the Wii U was an interesting concept because it gave me a nod to the Dreamcast with the fact that one player has a whole different screen from the rest of the people playing the couch co-op or the couch game you're playing. But I think the games themselves suffered because of new technology. Where the Switch just took our already existing technology and said, let's just make it mobile.
right.
And I think that's why it sells so well. And it goes to show I think mobile is the way of the future, but it has to be good mobile. It can't just be like, my cell phone games, because they fall into a trap of how they get developed. And I'm really excited to see, PlayStation has sold really well, and for Xbox to be right behind them, that's crazy because, PlayStation's a worldwide console, whereas Xbox is still very Western.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think once Xbox can fully establish their presence over over there, I think that's really gonna be key. But they got to get more like Japanese studios and and
Hmm.
and just more studios over there. Like I don't know where all the studios are at over in that part of the world, but Japan has a ton, and there's a lot of good studios over there. So they got to get something going. But
Yeah.
another thing though in regards to Nintendo is Pokemon Legends Arceus, which just came out last month, end of last month, has already have 6.5 million users. That's a pretty big ass number for a
Wow.
Pokemon game, and the game's only been out for like 2 weeks.
Last
That's
year's game of the
wild.
year only had 5 million copies sold.
Right.
RCS is less than a month old and it's already at 6.5 million. And I've only seen good things from it. Now, a lot of people are critiquing the game because it doesn't seem very advanced, but like this, I think, is the future of Pokemon.
Right.
It's right here.
Right.
We have hit the future.
Right. And I think I remember Ocelith, who pops into our chat every once in a while, or Kilth, however you pronounce his name.
I killed.
Kilth. He said it perfectly. He was just like, if Pokemon could restart and release its first game ever, this is what they probably would have released, because this is really exploring the world, being able to throw the Pokeballs at the Pokemon and not have to go into a battle.
Yeah,
Then you got to
yeah,
take
yeah,
them
yeah.
down, then put them to sleep, throw the Pokeballs. Like, yeah, that was cool. It's still fun to do it that way, but this is what the anime does. Like this is pretty close to the anime and how that stuff plays out. So I'm really eager to see it.
And I want to loop around and I say, like, this is already a structure of gameplay that other people have been doing for years. Like, Nino Kuni
Hmm.
is a game I just picked up.
Hmm.
And I'm literally running around throwing out a monster, pulling back the monster, throwing out a different monster. I'm joining the fight. Like, and it's going on all at the same time. And then I'm trying to capture monsters mid fight while fighting other monsters. Like, Pokemon has always been that formulaic, and I'm finally glad to see them go, let's leave the formula and try something new, because every time they leave the formula and try something new, it sells well. We've seen Pokemon Rangers. That was a really cool game. We've got Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. Those have done really well. Pokemon is, whenever they leave the formula, they've got the Pokemon name. They just need to give some people the freedom to build the Pokemon world. And I think Arceus did it.
Hmm.
I think we need to see a little bit better world design because, we've seen better games like, for example, Luigi's Haunted Mansion. That looks gorgeous. That game looked beautiful. It was really, really pretty. And then we get like, sticks and mud, and that's Arceus.
I
So,
feel like with Arceus, it's like if I had the best way to describe it, it would be like Final Fantasy, the idea where the monsters and everything are out in the wild. And then you
mhm.
have Ark, where you're trying to hunt instead of the dinosaurs, you're getting the Pokemon. But you still have the Pokemon um, atmosphere with the game.
Hmm.
And I feel like they nailed it to the point where even grown men in their 30s are buying this game.
Yeah.
And if I had to switch, I would buy this game. I bought a Switch for my niece and my nephew. Um,
Mhm.
I'm buying this game for them when I get a
So
chance.
you can go play
You
it.
know, so I could play it when I go over there, but I
Exactly.
could also have that conversation. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, wow, I've had a Game Boy and it didn't even have color, and I was playing Pokemon Red. You know,
Played that for
and,
hours.
Right.
and played it nonstop. I had my little light above, my little library light, so I could play it in the dark. And we're to this 3D and in person. It's just crazy to see how it goes. And
Hmm.
so like I really enjoy it.
Yeah, it's
No,
going to be
I,
one of my next pickups because like I said, I recently bought Brilliant Diamond and I'm trying to play through and beat that. But playing through and beating a Pokemon game doesn't happen overnight. Them shits
Oh
be,
no.
be like 50, 60 hours of
Oh
content just
yeah,
trying to get through it.
easy.
So it's just like once I get through that, then I will grab
yeah.
Legends Arceus and then go through that. I'm really eager to get to it.
No, I agree. And so let's talk about something that also is generating a lot of revenue here. So the Facebook craze Wordle that everyone loves. Turns out it got attention from people who believe them to be the everybody's daily word game. New York Times has bought Wordle. New York Times is expanding their market into online games by buying Wordle for $550 million. It goes to show you even the dumbest idea, as long as it has a good, a really good solid foundation, is worth something. You
Hmm.
know, it's simple, but it's a good game, you know?
Right, and actually, I feel like I'd never even heard of Wordle there for a while until like a couple weeks before this buyout happened. Because a lot of streamers they were starting to because you only get to play one word puzzle a day if you play the official one. You can buy the like clones apps and shit that's on your phone,
Yeah.
but this is a web based game, so you would get on the website, you would play your one word game, and that's it. So people were literally streaming their one word game on Twitch, and I was just like, yo, that's crazy. And they're getting millions of views just to do one word thing, and
Oh yeah,
I was
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
yo, this is crazy. Like, I don't get it. And then, like, boom, I see this. I was like, $550 million for a word game that you only get to play one time a day? That's insane.
Oh, but wait, if you put an ad on that site in the
I
bottom
know.
corner or whatever, you just get
Now you just ruined the
one ad.
experience, though, because that was the whole
You do.
idea behind, because his name was Josh Wardle.
Yeah.
And he said that he wanted to keep it, like, ad free and stuff like that. So, because I don't think he's actually ever made any money off of that game.
Nope.
Because it was free, you would just play it, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
Well,
oh, wow.
now it's gone. So it just goes to show, he himself made no money until now.
Right, $550 million
And
later.
and at that point, he knows what the future of the game is. So did he really care that he wanted to, was this a pet project, or was he really just playing the long con for the money?
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like just such like one of those side projects. You're like, I'm just gonna make this weird, very simple game that you only get to play once a day,
Yeah.
and then next thing you know, like it's crazy to how that played out. Like, I wonder how his thought process was. Was it just
Well, you got
a side project, or did he be like, I'm gonna make this bomb ass game and then I'm gonna sell it?
we got the whole like supply and demand aspect, right? If you take the
Yeah.
idea of business, supply and demand with spots, everyone's going crazy for the spots. They can't supply it enough, therefore you have people in the black market selling it for $1,200. Go buy a PC, but with that money, you know what I'm saying. But now you have this game where you only get to play once a day. Now the demand is high to play the game.
Right.
So now you're creating more content, in a way by, oh, I played my game, so I'm going to go watch other people play their one game. So now you're creating this community, you know what I'm saying, off of it. And I think it was genius.
Yeah.
I think it was genius
And
in how they
honestly,
did that.
and it was such a hit with people who don't play games. Like, for example, I'm
Mhm.
looking at, late night TV show hosts, and they're talking about Wordle on it, making jokes about Wordle in their normal, segments. And it's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck is Wordle?
Right.
What am
Right.
I missing? How am I behind Grandpa?
Right. It's crazy
Right.
because we're in the gaming industry all day long, and not once have this ever popped up in any news about Wordle. And actually, no, it's here it is, and it's sold for 550 million to a
Yep.
company. New York Times apparently, like, they used to do like word games in their magazines and their
The
papers.
crossword.
Mhm.
It's
Like,
the
yeah,
crossword.
now
New
they
York
now they have a
Times is
digital one.
crossword.
Yeah, now they have a digital word game.
Yeah. And I want to talk here about a side project, as you mentioned earlier. We had, major games always, it's always the smallest things sometimes that have the biggest impact. And Gwent was one of those things for CD Projekt Red during The Witcher 3. And then they decided to build another game, Gwent, the card game for you to play against other players online. And then they kind of evolved it from there. Well, now we got news that CD Projekt Red is developing a single player Gwent, a Gwent game that is just strictly single player. Have either of you played Gwent?
Never heard of it.
I've never even played The Witcher 3. I have it, and I want to get through it eventually, but I'm waiting because they're getting a next gen upgrade. So I was just like, I'll just wait until it looks better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is a game for me that I thought was a fascinating concept. It was just something small, but when The Witcher 3 was big, this was what everyone talked about. Nobody talked about the missions, the story, the gameplay. They talked about Gwent. They talked about how you went out of your way for Gwent and how your horse was always on a rooftop. And so I think it goes to show it's just the smallest things that can have the most impact in the games, in the realm of gaming.
Mhm.
So let's move on to the last subject here before we kind of get to a few tidbits and wrap up bits. But MLB The Show, the 22, it's coming to the Switch for the first time ever in this year, and will also be on Game Pass day one. Is it worth buying it on the Switch now? If it's on Game Pass,
I mean,
you can play it on PC maybe and on the Xbox day
right,
one.
right. I mean, it's pretty cool that it's coming to the Switch. So it's awesome for those who can't, one, get a new Xbox, and two, can't get a PC or a PlayStation 5. So
Yeah.
Switches have been more accessible than any other console
Yeah.
out there. So it's pretty cool to see a licensed baseball game that's going to be good come to the Switch.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of interested. I personally am not a baseball fan, but do you really think we're gonna get that many sales to sit there and develop, put the time in to put it on the Switch?
It was probably pretty cheap to port it over to the Switch. They probably dumb it down, use less resources.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't use that
Possibly.
much. I mean, that's the issue with a lot of Switch games. Is they get ported and they're always like worse versions. Like look at Dying Light 2. Dying Light 2 is actually coming to the Switch, not yet. It got delayed because of it's being like a cloud-based version of the game. So it's not like a hard copy. You're not going to be able to buy that as a physical, because if they want to play that game at the highest fidelity, they have to play through the cloud streaming as opposed to download it
Yeah.
or having a little cartridge of
Hmm.
it. So it makes sense. But speaking about Game Pass, though, Xbox had some good updates this week. Flight Simulator is getting their Australia update. That's releasing at it just released on the 31st of January. Added 4 new airports which are located in Australia, and they updated more details to over 100 of them, other airports throughout the world, which is pretty cool to see them slowly add more and more detail. Because this is the world, like you can literally go anywhere and everywhere. So it'd be pretty cool to see once they get everywhere completely detailed. They did add 94 custom points of interest, 16 new activities, 6 discovery flights, and 5 landing challenges. So this seems like a pretty large chunk for a game that's also on Game Pass, PC, and on
Free.
Xbox as well. So it's free. It's a free update. Flight Simulator is a 10 out of 10 game, one of the best simulation games of all time. So go check it out.
And it doesn't even have ads, A free game without ads, and they're giving you this much content. No, I'm actually surprised. I was expecting Flight Simulator to kind of go by the wayside at some point. But then you got to remember that's Microsoft's first original flagship too.
Right. They're not going
Hmm.
to
So
let this go by the wayside. Like they still have their Top Gun DLC that's supposed to still come out. That keeps getting delayed because the movie keeps getting delayed. So they're trying to. It's supposed to be released around the
yeah,
same time as the movie. So like they have a lot of content lined up for this game still, and they're only going to keep adding to a free game that's already a perfect game.
yeah,
Like this is a great example of when you release a game that's fully complete, fully done, but how can we make it better? How can we provide more quality updates that's going to
it's
make you come back and want to play this game again?
yeah, and it's not only that; it's the fact that it's additions afterward. It's not like we're adding content in the middle or trying to expand that. It feels like an MMO in the sense that you've got a fully developed game and we're going to continue to add things to move forward from where you already are.
Hmm.
So people who put the game down because I've run out of things I want to do, there are new things added on where you're at, not over here, but where you can keep going. Unlike certain games now that add content in the middle and you have to like, oh well, I'll go back and do it with all my end gear shit and curb stomp everybody.
Right.
Right. Yeah, so that doesn't make any sense. But speaking about Game Pass, though, there were some new releases coming out this month. Crossfire X, which we mentioned earlier, Besiege, Dreamscaper, Edge of Eternity, Infernix, Skull, Telling Lies, Ark, which you mentioned earlier, The Last Kids on Earth, and Contrast. Do any of these games stand out to you that you might want to give it a try on Game Pass?
Um, well, I used to play Ark a lot, and I'm glad I retired from that because that was a major. It was like a job, especially if you did PvP. Um, but I'm a little salty about it because just how you were with Destiny, you bought Destiny 1, you bought the collectors. I bought Ark and all of the DLC. So for it to come to Game Pass, I'm like, I need my money back, man, because that was 60, 60, 30, and 20. So, we're about over $200.
That's
And that
how
was
I
free.
felt with
So
Aliens
it's like,
Fireteam Elite.
come on, man.
When Aliens Fireteam Elite just came out last year, and I was just like, oh, I want to get it, and it was like, oh, it's on sale on Xbox. I was like, all right, cool, let me buy it real quick. I'll play it eventually,
and now
and
it's
it's
on
on
Game
Game
Pass.
Pass, and I was just like, why put it on sale if it's coming to Game Pass? Like,
Yeah.
To get that last little money out of the rag, they
And-
just
and
gotta
I-
like try for it.
and there I was dripping out of it. But no, Contrast though is actually an interesting inclusion because this was actually one of Compulsion Games' first original games that came out in 2013. It's like a puzzle-based platforming styled game. It has a pretty cool, unique art style. So I mean, it's pretty cool to check out for sure. But other games, Ark, I've actually never played Ark. But I do know Ark 2 is in development with like Vin Diesel as like
Vin
one
Diesel.
of the makers. So
Yeah.
it's making me like, ooh, like I might want to play the first one because the second one's already showing like it's going to be pretty good, and of course Crossfire X, I want to play that. But then all those other games, they're probably like small indie games, but and we all know indie games are doing really well right now. They're actually probably the best, some of the best games out there. Obviously, we know that last year's game of the year was an indie developed game, so might want to check some of these out. But
Fun fact, Vin Diesel has over 7,000 hours played in Ark.
oh wow,
That's why they made him the lead role, because he's
That makes
the
sense.
huge fan
So-
of Ark.
so we
And I would never guess Vin Diesel
Well,
loved
did you ever guess that
collecting dinosaurs,
but he also plays, tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons and
right.
yeah,
So
like,
he's a really
know-
big nerd, but I wouldn't mess with him.
yeah, like it just goes to show nobody talks about their hobbies. Like we went from video games being well, you're a nerd, why are you playing a video game all the time? Touch grass, things like that. But
Right.
now it's, people are coming out like Henry Cavill paints Warhammer miniatures, Terry Crews is a video game like aficionado. He's got like always posting his gaming rig build. You've got Vin Diesel plays tabletop Dungeons and Dragons. It's like,
Yeah.
it's really cool to see these people that we watch on this big screen. We're like, oh, they're not like us. And then you're like, wait, I guess they are.
right.
Henry Cavill almost missed an interview or a casting for Superman.
I
Because
remember
he's
that
too
playing
busy
WoW.
raiding in World of Warcraft. And talking and continuing on World of Warcraft here, cross-faction dungeons, raids, and PvP are coming to rated PvP, not just PvP. Rated PvP are coming to tests soon. So that's interesting.
Horde and
Wow.
Alliance.
Working together.
WoW is, we've seen where the Horde and Alliance always comes together, but you never really come and work together. Like we've had small little events together, but we've never truly played together. Like even in, one of the few times we ever played alongside the Alliance was during Legion, where there was an opening cinematic where on half the map was the Alliance and the other half was the Horde.
Yeah.
You never saw each other. You never even got close to each other. You never were even next to that person, but they were at least in the same zone as you.
Yeah.
But now we're actually going to see it where we can play alongside them. I don't know how to feel. I'm not playing WoW anymore, and this isn't going to bring me back. But like for the community at large, I think it's an interesting change because there are a lot of xenophobia in WoW for people who hate the other faction. So I'm interested to see what happens here.
I tried WoW. I played Shadowlands. I played a little bit of it, but then I just stopped playing. It just didn't, like I said, it didn't pull me in how Wrath of Lich King did and Cataclysm did.
It'll never do it.
It's man.
I played
Wrath of
Burning
Lich King,
Crusade,
man,
Wrath,
was
Cataclysm.
it was
That was probably
beautiful.
the last time I played was
Yeah, it was beautiful. Cataclysm was really good too, but it got a lot of hate.
Yeah, it's honestly what I quit during it. But, and I've talked to the community knows, I've come and gone. I've played Burning Crusade, Wrath of Lich King, Cataclysm, left, came back during BFA, played Shadowlands. I was raiding in Shadowlands as of I'd say 5 weeks or 3 weeks ago,
Right.
maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I finally
Right.
just said I'm done. I can't do this
Yeah.
anymore. It's just not. I think the company of Blizzard, as we talked about before, has come a long way, and I think World of Warcraft is on its last leg.
Yeah.
And arenas and the PvP aspect of WoW is just
Ooh.
broken. Don't even if you don't have a demonology warlock or arms warrior, don't even hop in arenas. It's like you're gonna break your keyboard. Just don't do it.
Sounds about
Yeah, I
right.
used to play Demonology Warlock since BC,
Yeah,
and I came in and
yeah.
I was like, people are like, you need to play this class, and it's like, I'm not really looking for elitism here,
Right.
so I was so over it.
They're so good now. They got that armor buff, so now they're
Yeah.
really tanky. They got that
Mhm.
percent armor buff. So anyway,
So, moving on here to a game that probably neither of you are invested in, but I know some of our community really likes this game. Risk of Rain 2 has announced the next expansion. We've got a full list of what's coming out and a release date. This is really, really cool because we're getting a new. This is where I think the early access, this is what we need. This is a game that came out early access, had a few levels, a few heroes, some unlockables. Every month you'd get a little bit more, maybe a new level, a new character, some new items. And we finally, after about 2 years, we finally got the full game. And everyone's like, well, we want more content. We want you to keep going. And they did. And it's not just like we're adding content in the middle. You can jump in. You've beaten the game 10, 30, 40 times. You jump back in, the content is still there. So we're going to be seeing a new mode, new enemies, new items, new zones, as well as a new character with completely new style of mechanics. So is this a game either you would ever try?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it sounds pretty cool. I never even really heard about it other than when you guys play it. But with them adding like a horde mode, like I've always been a huge fan of those kind of game modes. So I was like, ooh, maybe this might be a chance for me to try out the game. Like, let me just play horde mode. If I like it, then I continue and play the real game. What's all there? But the new hero sounds pretty cool, like a first-person shooter sniper hero. Like I don't know how all the other heroes work, but I was just like, damn, a sniper hero, like, be pretty cool. I like sniping.
Yeah, no, this is a character that'll one-shot bosses where everyone else looks at a boss and they're like, oh, great, a boss. This is a character who's running around with a Gauss rifle shooting, a fucking hand cannon, and you get one shot and you miss. Good luck. Good luck. It's essentially the next best thing to bolt action. So in a high-paced gameplay that's, a bullet hell essentially, you're taking a character that can only shoot once.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Yeah,
It
it's
adds that
definitely gonna
high
change.
skill ceiling.
Right, it's gonna change up the meta. Seems like a little bit, but it's coming out in less than a month though. It looks like we got a March 1st release date, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right around
No,
the
it's
corner.
right around the corner. So, moving on here to small indie studios. We've got a new studio. It's not really indie per se, but it's we've got a new studio coming out called Gardens. It's going to be remote first studio. It is going to be developers from Skyrim, Journey, and Spider-Man. Is there any more information, Vic, that you have to share with the community?
Not too much, honestly. But it kind of like came up on my news feed just because like I follow everything, but it's pretty cool to see that it's being a remote first studio. So this studio is being made that you're gonna work from home. Everybody works from home primarily. Like obviously they're gonna have a studio that you can come into, but having a studio that already has a plan to work from home is going to be beneficial because all these other studios have an issue with working from home. The games get delayed. They don't work together. They none of this works because they never had a plan in place. Where now their new creation of the studio, they're already doing it. So when they come together, it's only going to be better, but they at least have an established plan, organization
Yeah.
there to be able to work from home, which is pretty cool because if you can work from home, these companies can save a ton of money. They don't no longer have to have a building. They don't have to pay the utilities for that
Yeah.
building. Any of that extra stuff. You're at home. Take care of your own stuff, and then the people at home that are working from home write off most of that shit in their taxes anyway. So
Yeah,
it's a win-win for everybody.
it's a win-win, and also the comfortability of your home might be a catalyst for great ideas, which could go for some good ideas being developed and bounced off one another. Whereas when you're in the building and it's a professional setting and you got that nerves and just that, you know what I mean? You're in the comfort of your home.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you might have that idea just and it might be a game changer, you know. Whereas you go to a normal brick and mortar establishment, and you might not just have that same thing.
And to give you
No,
some
I
more,
I want to agree. If you don't mind me taking a sec to build off that, you know, we all see that meme where it's like, you know, CEO says, "How do we improve this?" And the first person gives a dumb answer, second person gives a dumb answer,
Right.
third person gives the obvious, good, smart, or brilliant answer, and they get thrown out the window. You know, in a business setting, you feel like you can't speak out, you can't give your what you really think. But I think with remote first, it gives you a chance to, I'm in a comfortable setting. I'm already relaxed. I'm just in a video call with people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, and to give you some insight here, just from IGN specifically, basically this studio also is going to worry about like the well-being of all their employees. Like they're going to be more like employee focused, basically the opposite of what Blizzard and Activision has been doing. So that's basically what they're doing. They were just like, well, if they're not going to do it right, come to our studio. We'll make sure you guys are taken care of, and we're going to do the right thing. So it's pretty cool, and I hope that they live up to that. Like they stick to that. They don't
Yeah.
go, hey, we're going to do this, and then go right back to the typical standard. So, but they do have their first game that's already like in early development, and it says which is set to be an online game where players will interact with each other with a mysterious and magical world. It will build upon the online games that teams have built past, like based on Journey, Ashen, and Blaseball. So they released some concept art. So there are some. It kind of has like a Legend of Zelda look to it. Like it looks pretty cool. Can't really show any of this, but you guys can check it out on IGN's website if you want to see like what kind of game that they're going for. So it is that definitely pretty cool though that they are going to start focusing in on the employees though. I think that's going to be really big. But to round out our gaming news, we got some big news. Rockstar Entertainment came out with two big hitters here that actually sent their stock through the roof. GTA 6 is in development, y'all. GTA 6 is coming soon. We don't know how soon, whether it's 2023 or 2053. We don't know, but it's in development, so it's official, y'all. So let's plan for it. But nonetheless, GTA 5 next gen has been announced for its release to come out on March 15th. So until GTA 6 comes out, we should be able to enjoy GTA 5 for the third or fourth time. You know, well, however many times it's been released. It's been on the 360,
Five.
the
I think it was
Xbox One, and the
five.
series. It's the third release. It came out.
But
on the
then they
360.
also put it on other consoles too, and then we got small updates. But what's crazy about this is we're going to be able to see GTA in 4K and 60 frames per second. What we could already do on PC. Woo!
Right. Yeah.
So-
Yeah, I don't think it's coming out anytime soon. If I'm gonna be honest here, what did they say? 2023, 2024?
They didn't say it.
No,
yet.
there's no
They don't.
timeline.
Oh
They
yeah.
just said
well,
we're working on it because
Yeah.
And
you
the thing
know.
is, they didn't even call it GTA 6. They said the next entry in GTA. So maybe they pull that fucking hidden card trick and be like, hey, it's just like another DLC or like a side game. It's not even a full fledged GTA game.
right. Which would definitely cause backlash in the community
Even
because
more.
you made its people buy the game 4 times, since 2013.
And now we've got a
So-
DLC for each one of those consoles you've ever
Is-
bought it on.
Exactly, so I mean it's exciting because GTA is a phenomenal game. We can't hate on it, but just like we made the joke before we went live, I think Elder Scrolls 6 and GTA 6, we might have gray hairs by the time that comes out.
I
So.
already got him.
No, I mean we might all, with the cane, the
Yeah.
walker, so
Yeah, I mean,
We'll be telling our kids back in my day,
when GTA
GTA
5 first
was
came out.
one console.
Right, but to put it into perspective, that those that may not know, like the biggest games of all time, Minecraft has 238 million, and then GTA 5 is second with 155 million, followed by Tetris at 100 million. So if that's not saying something, that's how big GTA 5 is. So it's just like eager to see, like, all right, GTA 6 has a.
When are we
big-
getting Tetris 2 though? That's what I'm waiting for.
And, if they announce Tetris 2, that's gonna blow up. No, but seriously, like
Easy.
if you guys played the new Tetris game, I think it's on Game Pass, like Tetris Connect or something like that. You can like battle your friends and shit in
Yeah.
Tetris. Like I played it. It's pretty fun. Tetris is always like that simple concept that's
right.
really enjoyable. No
When I'm
matter what.
bored and have nothing better to do, but as somebody who likes to be a part of the gaming industry,
Right.
we don't have time for games like
Eh,
games like that
it was
anymore.
it
You
was
know?
it was one of the most talked about games when the next generation came out because it even Tetris looked 4K. I mean Tetris is a very simplistic game, but it can
How
look
how hard is it to get Tetris in 4K? Let's be honest here.
fair enough.
You've got a stagnant screen.
4K,
But
120
120 hertz,
FPS.
right? The
Yeah,
blocks fall without any lag, you know.
yeah,
But moving along
oh,
here to our end segment here is our gaming rumors. Nothing too much, but I kind of touched on this first one earlier. Is Jeff Keighley, as those that may not know, he's like one of the big industry leaders. He hosts the Game Awards that we followed last year, and he said that there's a few more big deals in final stages, and I'm talking about acquisitions. So, what do you guys think? What's the next move? Who's buying who? Any ideas?
honestly, I don't think there are going to be any big name purchases anymore out of Microsoft right now. I think they're going to go for smaller studios, things
Yeah,
that, indie developers try to really rebuild that indie catalog because at this point, we've got a lot of AAA development, but I think we need more. I think they're going to look to bring people indie studios into them more. I think at this point, we bought the biggest game in the world. We bought Minecraft. We bought Bethesda. We've got everything. At this point, I think there isn't anything big to acquire unless they take down a giant.
right.
They would have to really slay a giant like EA, or
that would be
actually
huge.
finish the Activision purchase. You know,
Right.
Um,
Go ahead.
it could go both ways. I feel like the indie would make more sense, because they already acquired, some big names. However, knowing the competitive nature of the two companies, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to one up Sony. I just don't know who would be worth that 3.6, 3.8 billion mark to acquire.
Right.
So, yeah, I think the indie thing would make more sense.
Yeah, so the
On
rumor
to you,
that
Vic.
yeah, the rumor that's kind of going around here is that PlayStation wants to buy either Ubisoft or EA, which would be a huge splash because you don't realize how much both of those actually own.
oh yeah.
They own a large amount, but we can't forget about the biggest gaming company out there, Tencent. What's their next move? If they're seeing all these other companies
Tencent,
making a move,
yeah.
they gotta make a move to continue to be in first place, and that makes sense. So it's just like I'm really curious to see
Mobile Legends.
what if they buy EA or Ubisoft or whatever other company that they please, but it's like what who could they buy? And the same thing with like Take Two. Like Take Two was just bought out by I forget who they got bought out by, but they were just bought out. So like there's a lot of moves, and I'm really eager to see what Jeff is talking about here. With there's some big deals, and I'm not talking about small deals like Roger's talking about with indies. There's big deals that are about to happen that are in the final
Mhm.
stages. So definitely be on the lookout for the next couple weeks. Some other unfortunate news though here is Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League has been rumored to be delayed until 2023. This has not been officially announced by WB at all, so eager to see if this is true. They got two big hitters coming out this year with Gotham Knights and also the Hogwarts Legacy game that's coming out this year. So, do they need this game to come out this year? No. Would it be nice? Yeah, because they could have a trifecta. Honestly, this
Mm.
year.
They're not going to have a trifecta. The Harry Potter thing's going to flop. Let's be honest here.
I'm
Harry
hoping not.
Potter has fallen so far out of the limelight.
Yeah.
Eh, I mean,
Eh.
all their recent content has been good, like their TV show and like not a TV show, like the game show was good, and then like when they had the anniversary come back, the Beast, the Fantastic Beast, does it
There's
really
another
well.
new movie this
Yeah,
year.
it makes sense. So it's
So
just like there's always hype for Harry Potter. Like I love Harry Potter. Like I've watched all 8 movies over and over and over. Like I really enjoy that the atmosphere and just the world. It's different. But
mhm.
the end of our gaming rumors here is Dark Pictures, which is known for like their horror games, put in like a new trademark for 5 potential new games. So it'll be pretty cool to see those come out because that's actually a series that I want to check out because I think it's up to like 5 player co-op to be able to play it. So Roger, do these games ever interest you?
Well, we talked about it before about playing them, and honestly, I would love to play, you know, the 4 player co-op modes with it, where these are cinematic horror games, and I've heard good things about them. So
Yeah, I'm really eager. Have you ever seen these, Joe?
No,
Yeah,
News to me. News to me.
yeah. Well, no, check out just look up like Dark Pictures Anthology. It's like a series of games that aren't like too long, but they can be played co-op, and they all have like a different story. And there's just horror, and it's just like heart wrenching, and it's just
Oh, cool, cool,
it's
cool.
really
Yes,
detailed
right
stuff.
up my alley.
It's definitely looks really good. But well, that's all our gaming rumors though for the week. So definitely want to close out this week's episode. You guys have any last comments or remarks?
Not this week. Just thanks for checking us out on the co-op night, guys, or the co-op afternoon. If you have any comments or concerns about our co-op stream, let us know. But we plan to continue playing this game until we beat it, I assume, at this point. And if you have anything you'd like to see us play co-op, please just reach out to either I or MrNeverChillin at any point on Discord or on our Reddit or on our Discord the server itself.
Hmm.
And maybe we'll get it in the list of things to play.
Right. Anything from you, Joe?
Yeah. Well, no, I would just like to thank you guys for having me on. I feel like we had a great conversation, bouncing off ideas and viewpoints of things. And I will say, I will see you in the retirement home when GTA 6 finally launches.
No doubt about that.
If I
Yeah,
live that long.
right. No, but seriously, yeah, man. Thanks for coming on the show. We'd love to have you back on again because it's always nice to have the input from everybody, and it's pretty cool to get that feedback because everyone views gaming differently and has different
Yeah.
experiences from the beginning till now. So it's awesome. But definitely want to thank everybody who did check us out live and anybody who checks us out later on YouTube. Be sure if you want to check these out live, they start at 7 o'clock on Sunday. But Joe, where can we find you at, man?
You can find me on YouTube, Vanishh. Just search that with two H's. And I'm also on Twitch as well, S2W Vanishh. I stream Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Smite right now. Come watch me yell at my degenerate teammates.
And of course, I plugged your IG right below you.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
But everyone, you can check me out at MrNeverChillin _ on Twitter. Xbox is XNeverSpaceChillin. You want to game party up. Facebook is Vic Brubacher. Questions, concerns, you want to come on the show, hit me up there. But definitely want to thank everyone again. But until next time, peace.
Peace.